The NFL and diversity. The NFL and diversity. The NFL is teamed up with the XFL to get some new rules and things in place. But as we know, the NFL is currently still facing a lawsuit from Brian Flores, who recently took a job with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But what is the league doing about diversity? And when will we see a black owner in the NFL? We're going to talk about that right after the bumper. Stay tuned. What's good people? My name is JeffLightsyJr here at the Black Boss channel on Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, the NFL is working on, or is supposed to be working on, the diversity problem that they've had for a very long time, mainly because when the league was created over 100 years ago, it didn't have black people in mind, not as players, not as owners, and not any type of leadership position. And so now, 100 years later, they're still struggling when it comes to black coaches, black general managers, black offense coordinators, black everything. But the number one problem that is a big donut, big zero, because there's some black coaches, not many, but some. There's some black general managers, not many, but some. There's some blacks in leadership positions, not many, but some. But there's a big old zero in black ownership. There is not one single black man who is an owner of an NFL organization. And some will say, well, there's some minorities. Yeah, but that ain't black. Ain't a black man. Shad Khan's not a black man. Gail Benson is a woman, not a black man, a white woman at that. And there's some other, I think, some minority type owners, but there's no black owners at all. And the question is, when will it happen? If it will happen. Will it ever happen? I don't know. Deion Sanders had an interesting take on how he thinks the NFL should handle diversity, or the NFL should get some inclusion in the ownership system as far as league owners being black. He said you can't force, an owner, because I think the Broncos are up for sale, and there's some black people bidding on the Broncos, but chances are they won't get it. The Washington Commanders, I almost forgot their name. It was the football team. It used to be the Redskins, but the Commanders could potentially end up being up for sale with the Dan Snyder, all that mess he's got going on. But you can't force him to sell to a black man. Chances are they won't, even if they do come up for sale, but they're currently not. And then there's the whole thing with the Miami Dolphins, who could possibly be charged with, tanking games purposely or paying coaches to tank games. That's what Brian Flores is claiming. And if it's deemed to be true, Stephen Ross, who is the owner of the Dolphins, could possibly be forced to sell. And hell, we know if that's the case, if a black man is the person who ends up making him being forced to sell his team, ain't no way in hell he's selling his team to no black people. So, there's that. And Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, had his suggestion was, once again, you can't force these people to sell their team to black people. So what you should do is, we understand there's probably going to be some expansion in the league at some point. You should expand it 3 teams and make it a guarantee that black people can own those 3 teams. Make it to where white folks can't even bid on those 3 teams. Make it to where black folks are the only ones who have the possibility of owning those 3 teams. Now, once they become the owners and they're the owners for 5, 10, 15, whatever years, and they decide to sell, now, of course, they can sell it to white folks, but at least we get a foot in the door. If you expanded 3 teams, at least you get a foot in the door that some black folks get a chance to own a team in the National Football League. So that, to me, is your most logical scenario. That makes the most sense because, like I said earlier, you can't force anybody to sell anything to anybody black, period. Because one, it's going to take you a whole lot of money to own an NFL team, to be even able to put in a bid to own an NFL team, and to be considered the primary owner, you have to put up the forefront of the cash. I think it's like 30%. So if you have an investment group, say if it's me, who ain't got nothing, with Jay-Z, with Diddy, with Byron Allen, with Robert Smith, with Oprah, with all these billionaires, all these people with all this money, if it want, like, albeit I'm in a group with these folks, I would have to put up the majority of the cash. Now, NFL teams, if you haven't been checking the price tags, are going up every single year because they're getting better TV deals. We just saw 100 and something million watch the Super Bowl, over 160 million tuned in at some points of the game, which is a television record. We just saw Super Bowl ads go for $7 million for 30 seconds. So the NFL is cash king. It's the king of the kings, right? And so if you're a team owner in that league, you are going to get top dollar for your organization. And it's like, why? Why would you get so much? Well, because in the NFL, there's so much what we call parity. Obviously, the Chiefs have been to the AFC Championship game the last 4 years. Obviously, the New England Patriots won a bunch of Super Bowls. But we also saw the NFL is the only league that you can see things like this. Cincinnati Bengals 2 years ago had the number 1 overall pick. 2 years later, they're in the Super Bowl. You get what I'm saying? And so just imagine they were this close from winning a Super Bowl. They were Joe Burrow 5 more seconds away from seeing Jamar Chase to win the Super Bowl in a game-winning fashion. But Aaron Donald kind of ruined that. But that you get what I'm saying. The NFL is really like the only sport where you can see a team from Cincinnati, Ohio, play against a team from Los Angeles, and it do crazy numbers. It looks like the team from Cincinnati, Ohio has a bigger and better fan base. You get what I'm saying? Like the NFL is like the only sport in America that you kind of see that kind of paradigm, that kind of parity, the paradigm shift, just like that. The Chiefs won nothing for a long time. They had only won 1 Super Bowl in their franchise history. Then they go to 4 straight AFC Championship games. You get what I'm saying? So that is why the NFL is king, because it's so much parity, and your luck can change just like that. You make a good draft picks, some good draft picks, some good free agent signings, a good coach, get you a good franchise quarterback. It's a lot. So I'm not gonna act like it's easy. It's a lot, but your fortunes can change just like that. Just like that. Cincinnati's going nowhere fast. They get Joe Burrow, they're in the Super Bowl 2 years later. Just what happens. And we don't even know if they have a good coach yet. He made some questionable decisions throughout the playoffs. So anyway, but the ownership of black people. Here's my plea to black folks. Here's my suggestion. 1, don't beg the NFL to be a part of their ownership group. Should you be a part of their ownership group? Absolutely. 75% of the league is black. Absolutely. I mean, come on. 75% of the league is black. Let me repeat it one more time. 75% of the NFL is black. So how in the hell do you have a league where 75% of the people are black and none of the owners who signed the checks are black? That is sad. 2, there are other avenues for you to have some form of ownership with football. Why is the NFL cash is king? Well, because they get the best players. Why do they get the best players? Because they can pay them the most. Why can they pay them the most? Because they get the best TV deals. Why do they get the best TV deals? Because they have a pipeline that's already been established. Now, I'm not saying you got to take on the NFL in instances like the XFL, the USFL, or the AAF, or whatever. But there's other ways to make money. There's other sporting leagues that you can start up, that you can own, that you can create your own revenue without directly taking on the NFL. Look at what Ice Cube did with the Big Three. Look what The Rock is doing with the XFL. Hell, he's partnered with the NFL. And maybe we can get some black owners in the XFL league. And maybe we can say, hey, this is a black-owned sports league. And maybe we can make some headway because our biggest exports to the world are entertainers and our athletes. There are two of our biggest. I'm not gonna say our only biggest, but 2 of our biggest and our 2 most lucrative as us. I'm saying black community to the world are entertainers and athletes, and we own nothing in those industries. We own 1 basketball team, 0 football teams, 0 record labels, 0 distribution labels. Like it's a big bunch of zeros. But we generate all the revenue. We push the culture forward. We do all of these things. Come on, man. I heard J.R. Smith, man. He said something really, really entertaining. Really, and this is going to be my last point. I'm going to wrap up. J.R. Smith was on I Am Athlete podcast, and he said, I was, when we were in the bubble, we had a lot of time to think and talk when it was an NBA bubble during the pandemic. And he was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting there with all these dudes from L.A., DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, all these dudes from LA. And all these dudes have made hundreds of millions of dollars throughout their NBA career. Westbrook's on a $200 million deal. Paul George is on a $180 million deal. Kawhi Leonard's on a 160 and what like he said, I'm not pocket watching, but this is just a fact. DeRozan's on a $90 million deal, whatever. He's like, I'm looking at all these people with all this bread and all these dudes from the same town. And when we go back to their hometown, we got to hoop at the white man gym, essentially. So we got to go hoop at the white man's gym. He said, man, how in the hell do I have $1 billion worth of guys, group of guys right here, and they don't even own a gym? They don't even own a rec center. They don't even have businesses in their communities. They don't even do these kind of things. It doesn't make sense. You're in a room with 5 guys with combined net worth of $1 billion, and they don't even own a gym. They play basketball, that hoop for a living. They don't even own a gym where they're from. When they go back to where they're from, not like where they go play, the city that they play at, or they out of town or whatever, the hometown, the place that they live, where they lay their head. They don't even have a gym where they're from. They got to go hoop at the white man gym, essentially. It's a mindset thing, is what he said. It's absolutely a mindset thing. It's the same when it comes to sports, entertainment, and all of these fields that we dominate. We have to change our mindset. The switch must be flipped. It's time to make it happen. Now more than ever. Once again, my name is JeffLightsyJr at the Black Boss Channel. Subscribe to the Black Boss Channel right there. Hit that thumbs up button before you head out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.